It is time to breathe again on the latest Breath of Fresh Air webcast. So, got me. You have Patrick. Say what's up to the people, Patrick.
What's up, everybody?
And we have a lot to cover, so let's get right on it. You know how we do, Patrick, during the football season. We always like to review from the last week, preview the next week. So we'll start with college football here. And let's get your thoughts on what caught your eye from last weekend.
Uh, well, Georgia looked good. I was excited about that. You know what I mean? Um, I was impressed with Nebraska and how they played against Oklahoma. Um, that Florida Alabama game was for real. I was impressed with a lot of the games, man. I really was. There was a lot of good games out there, but I'm gonna tell you, man, that Alabama Florida, dude, that was a instant classic. That was an instant classic. Florida ran all over Alabama, and if it wasn't for that one missed field goal, the life of a kicker, man, it just it you saw a lot of growth that Bryce Young he's going to have to go through. The several mistakes he made in that second half just killed drives for Alabama, and at the end of the day, Alabama came out on top. But man, going into the swamp the way that Alabama did, playing as hard as they did, and then taking every punch to the face that Florida gave them, and still came out on top. You got to give Alabama's endurance and their agility a lot of credit, because they were getting beat. And if they didn't jump out to that early start in the first half, might be looking at a new number one this week, but obviously not. So, but no, that was a good game. That was a fantastic game. I enjoyed watching it. It was great.
So, all right, Florida. Give them credit for coming back because, like you said, they did. Alabama jumped on them 21-3, and it looked like it was going to be what everyone has been pretty much forecasting about Alabama. It's them and everybody else. That's what you've been hearing about them in the last couple of weeks or the first couple of weeks of the season. Florida settled down, got it together, and they started running the football. That's what's really concerning if you're an Alabama fan. Because normally, if Alabama is going to get beat, it's because the quarterback is throwing all over the yard. Maybe they put together a game where they have 350, maybe 400 yards throwing. Shoot. Ole Miss's quarterback threw for a bunch of yards against them last year, but Alabama was able to score 63 points. And so it was a 63-48 game. But when you look at Alabama's history going back, it's those type of games. Look at the quarterbacks, Patrick, and I know you remember them, man. Johnny Manziel going back in the day, um, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson. Guys who are mobile, can create stuff with their legs, and also throw from the pocket and on the run. Those are the teams, or those are the quarterbacks that give Alabama problems.
Mm-hmm.
Florida has one of those guys. Another one, I thought, is it Anthony Richardson? Yeah, Anthony. He didn't play, so I think Florida would have done like a two quarterback system, but they lost. Alabama was getting whooped in the trenches. You don't say that about Alabama often, like
And they were
almost
they
at all.
were fast. I mean, Florida was beating them. I mean, Florida wasn't even trying to get outside, bro. They were
Yeah, it was up the
shoving
middle
right
runs.
down their throat, and there was nothing. Alabama didn't have an answer. Luckily, the game ended for them, because if it didn't, I mean, I'm telling you, Florida was rolling, dude. They were rolling. But like you said, you got to give all the credit to both of those teams. I mean, there's a lot of credit that needs to be dished out to both of those teams. Florida for running, Florida for not being scared, dude. I mean, like you said, this is a team where you look at Alabama, it's like Alabama and everybody else in the SEC, and it's not. I mean, Florida is a good team, Georgia is a good team. Um, I'm thinking. Give me a second. Texas A&M is a good team, and you're already discontinuing these teams as they're no match for Alabama, and then Florida shows you that they're not backing down, and that is a different type of game that you have not seen because I've always called it the Nick Saban effect. You go in, you play Nick Saban, you make a bunch of mistakes, you lose the game. That didn't happen. Alabama just weathered a storm, and it just so happened that the clock ran out so that they didn't have to weather any more of that storm. Because I truthfully think if there was another minute and a half on that clock, Florida would have beat them. I really do feel that way.
It was just yeah, and the Florida had over 200 yards rushing, yeah, and that's the thing that does not happen against Alabama's defense. So if you're looking forward to the rest of Alabama's schedule, well, they play in the SEC West, so that means they're going to see Auburn. Auburn runs the ball well. They're going to see Arkansas. Arkansas runs the ball well. Um, Ole Miss, they can do both. And personally, if I'm looking at it, to me, that's the biggest threat to Bama this season, this year. I know a lot of people are saying A&M right now. I know A&M has Bama come into College Station. I have to see how their quarterback play is more consistently before I'm ready to jump on that train. But I'm a believer in Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss can get Bama if Bama's not careful. Now, that game is in Tuscaloosa. So, I mean, it will be obviously, it will be tough to come there and win. But Ole Miss with that offense, if they get a little bit of defense to go with that, that is a dangerous, dangerous squad, man.
You
And
know who else could be a dangerous squad for Alabama
oh,
if they figure some stuff out, which I
oh,
think during this week they did, because it's just like first half. I'm gonna keep you on the edge of your seat just for a minute. First half, they didn't play very well. Second half, third quarter, they were like, okay, I see what's going on. I see what's fourth quarter, they played well. And it's Auburn. Auburn
yeah,
got beat by Penn State, but
I mentioned
bro,
Auburn.
they're figuring some things out. Oh, did
I
you?
mentioned
Yeah,
Auburn.
I didn't hear
Yeah,
it.
man. I said they're gonna play Auburn because they
Oh
play
yeah, you said they would play
what?
Auburn, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think Auburn is a little more than what most people are saying. I think Auburn is a team, and it's always going to it's a rivalry. It's always and it's in state. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's always going to be crucial game.
And that
But
game's in Auburn too.
man, they started figuring some stuff out in that fourth quarter where they started running the ball a little bit better. They started passing the ball a little bit better. I think they'll build on that by the time they play Alabama. Alabama better watch out, man. They can run into two or three teams that could dethrone them really quickly, and they could have a two-loss season. Just saying.
And you mentioned Auburn. Give credit to Penn State too. The whiteout game that they had up there in State College. Um, Penn State look pretty good. Look pretty solid there. So I
Mhm.
mean, we'll see if they can potentially remove Ohio State from that perch in the Big Ten. But hey, Penn State, they have two good wins. They won at Wisconsin first week of the season, and now this win against Auburn. So maybe Penn State's going to be something to mess with. That was a good performance that I got to catch from them. That was just a good game altogether between those
Yeah, it
two.
was. Yeah, it was definitely.
And then you have how about this, Patrick? Fresno State. I don't know if you got it. This game was on late, man. Like it was on
I
till
did
1 in the
not.
morning. but
I'm
but
too old for that. I'm too old for that, man.
hey, out there the Pac-12, they beat UCLA 40-37, and Fresno State. uh, For people who are maybe not as familiar with college football as maybe you and I are, not trying to talk us up or anything like that, but I mean we're pretty big college football fans.
Oh, I'm huge. I watch college
So,
football over NFL any day.
so, so Fresno State. This is a team. They're not scared of anybody. They will come to you and play anywhere, anytime. They'll play you in the parking lot. They don't care. They don't. They will come to you if you're gonna sit there and say, "Hey, we want you to come." They're there. Fresno State.
They're knocking on your door.
Yes.
Hey, you want to come with?
Wait a minute. Yeah.
We're already here. We're ready, man. What's up?
and you played them because they're physical. They beat you up, and we know they almost beat Oregon in the first week of the season, and we know what Oregon did the next week, beating Ohio State, and then they beat UCLA 40-37. Man, they want to shoot out there. So look, that game kind of stuck out to me because I was for Pac-12 purposes, I'm high on UCLA, and they still might do stuff because it is a non-conference loss, but impressive win for Fresno State. Man. Let's see, there was one more that stuck out to me. Oh yeah. You mentioned Nebraska and that Oklahoma game. I guess maybe we have to file another missing persons report for Jonathan. I don't know where he's at. But
he shows up on an average every 8 weeks.
Every 8 weeks, yes. So we'll see him once every 2 months, yes. But yeah, Oklahoma looking bad, or Texas North looking not so impressive. I say, me, Patrick, I'm very comfortable in saying they will catch two losses in the Big 12 because they just don't look good at all, man. Period. And then Ohio State, Clemson, they're not looking good either. So that will be a question coming up after. Well, okay. Before I move on to what we're looking forward to the next, have anything else to add before you move on?
No, just happy that the rankings actually got it right for a change.
Patrick, you worry too much about the rankings. You know those will work.
No, I'm just glad that they're giving respect to Oregon. That's what I'm saying.
I got you.
Yes. Yeah, I try my best not to worry about the rankings too much, but man, Oregon deserves some credit, and they finally gave it to them this week. So, shout out to Oregon.
Well, on that note, what are you looking forward to this coming weekend? Now, I can tell you, looking at the roster of games, doesn't look all that impressive, but you know how that can work out. It's normally on those type of schedules where the most chaos happens. So,
there's a couple of good games. You got Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Texas A&M, and Arkansas.
Two, Patrick.
Huh? What's that?
but hey, that's when the most chaos happens, though.
Exactly, man. There's I still think there's I think the Stanford UCLA game is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah.
I think that one's going to be, something to look, to watch. Hell, West Virginia and Oklahoma, bro. Oklahoma might catch an L this week.
Yeah, and of course, with us being in the Big 12, we'll be definitely looking at that one. We play Texas Tech, so that's another one where Texas Tech can rise on up. And
then I got one more game before you finish. I got one more game, and that's North Carolina and Georgia Tech, man.
Yes, Georgia Tech. Man, they probably should have beat Clemson, man.
They should have. They should have. I was like, man, I I'm not a Tech fan. Now, don't get me wrong. I did try to get in there to go to college because, you get a Georgia Tech.
School.
Hell yeah, bro. I got it. I don't know if I've ever told you this story. I applied for 15 colleges. I got into 14 of them. Georgia Tech was the first to go, nope. was
You
like,
you got to
dang,
have some grades to get
yeah.
into Georgia Tech, man.
I wrote a kick ass thesis too, man. It still didn't get it anyway. But those are several games I'm looking at, and I think that I think one of the best games to me is probably going to be that UCLA and Stanford game.
Yeah, Stanford. I remember they last week they whooped up on USC, caused USC to fire their coach. Well, not last week, the week before. Right. And yeah, the UCLA, like I was talking about earlier, I think they can. Uh, they're capable of winning the Pac-12. Um, I mean, I guess if
Washington
everything
State will
does
play
work
Utah
out,
on Saturday at
Hey
1:30 p.m.
Google, stop.
really, they
I
really.
don't know what you said, man, but you got
All
her
right,
attention.
man. I take the credit for that one. So my bad.
Yeah,
God.
she's talking. You talking about Washington State? She's talking about Washington State.
Well, depending on how the divisions work, I mean, it looks like Oregon and UCLA they could be on a collision course for that Pac-12 championship.
Mhm.
But like UCLA, Oregon's going to play Stanford. So there's going to be some games that can sneak up, be interesting for both of those teams, of course. And conference play. Huh? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to wait for you to finish, but uh, this is the week where you may, 2 weeks ago you said, well, I don't know, NC State might catch Clemson sleeping. Here's the week. We're gonna find out.
Got them coming to Raleigh, and I said Clemson does not look good. So I'll say this because how I feel about Clemson is they should start to improve as the season goes along. I do have confidence in Dabo Sweeney and that coaching staff to get them going. So if NC State is going to get them, this is the week. And of course, they only play them once a year, but they might be catching them at a perfect time to get them. You know, so yeah, we'll see, man. Because Clemson, that offense, ooh, the offensive line, they're not protecting the quarterback, my man Uwe Agalele. They're not they are not protecting him
Yeah.
at all. Yep. um, but looking at those other games, man, yeah, Texas A&M and Arkansas is really interesting to me because I think Arkansas can get A&M. That I'm really impressed, and maybe this is because they whooped us, but I've been really impressed with what I'm seeing from Arkansas.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you. I think Arkansas wins.
Yeah,
I'm putting it in breath fresh air right here. Boom. Arkansas's got them. I think Arkansas wins, dude. I'm calling it. Here, I don't normally do this part except for just with you, but I'm going to throw it out there here. Arkansas 33-27. I don't put scores to it, but I think Arkansas gets them 33-27. There you go.
We used to put scores on stuff, man. We need to get back to that because normally when
We
we
would put
first
scores to the major games. I guess this would be one of those major games. 33-27. Arkansas. I got them. I'm going with it too.
it's gonna be interesting game. I think it'll probably be closer than that. I think you know what, and I'm actually gonna say it might be a little bit lower scoring than that. And I'm like in
24-27.
no lower than that. Um
17.
no, I'd say about 24-21. Yeah, because the thing with A&M, man, their quarterback play. I'm not sure because their starting quarterback that they had, Haynes King, he's hurt. So, they have this other guy in I think his name's Calnada, something like that. I saw it when they were playing Colorado in week 2. But Arkansas, man, just looks like they're playing with this enthusiasm and this passion. This is a dangerous game for A&M. If they come in here half stepping a little bit, then I think it's going to be a L for them. And honestly, they might not even have to half step. Arkansas might just be that good. So I mean, so yeah, I like Arkansas 24-21 in that game. Yeah, Notre Dame, Wisconsin. That will be interesting. That one's actually going to be played at Soldier Field in Chicago, and so that one, I like that. I like some of these neutral site games, where teams are kind of halfway, and then I guess Chicago's kind of halfway in between those two campuses in South Bend and then up in Madison. Uh, yeah, Wisconsin can beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame hasn't been looking good anyway, so I think they can get got. Um, Patrick, one question before we move on to the NFL. They we mentioned Ohio State not looking good because I mean they were struggling with Tulsa before they finally pulled away. Clemson's not looking good. Alabama, I know people are going to say, "Oh, they look vulnerable," but I'm on the side of giving Florida credit because I think Florida's a good team. Um, could this be a year where we see just at least, let's say, two or three different people from what we've been used to seeing in the final college football playoff rankings? Do you see that kind of shaping up in this season?
I kind of see, I kind of see it being more of a what we want to see the college football playoffs. Look, everybody wants to see, we want to see different teams, right? I don't think an Ohio State's going to make it. I don't think a Clemson's going to make it. I think an Alabama would make it. But I really truly feel like this is where, not by structure, but by default, we're going to see kind of like the winner of the conference is going to be the one that gets in. And I mean, you might see a one loss Georgia make it in, but I mean, I if it goes the way I see it, and I kind of see how it's going, I think you might see like a couple of lost teams that gets in because teams are just they're playing with a lot more. And this is just everybody. I mean, look, you like you said earlier with the Fresno State and the UCLA game. Fresno State's not afraid of anybody, and I've never really seen them afraid of anybody. But you said they come in and they beat UCLA, and it was a solid win. That to me is not the typical UCLA. That is a UCLA or a Fresno State team that's coming in and saying, "Yeah, we're not afraid, but we also know we can whip you." You know what I mean? And I think a lot of teams are having that gumption about them. Oregon coming into Ohio State saying, "Look, I know what the critics are saying. We're good too, though, and we're going to show you." And you're starting to see that more and more out of these teams that you didn't hear from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. They're starting to say, "We're good too, and let me show you why." You know what I mean? Florida playing Alabama the way they did. Oregon playing Ohio State the way they did. Fresno State playing UCLA the way they did. What was that other team? Cincinnati, the way they're playing right now. I mean, I got to go back and look at their ranking, but I mean, I think Cincinnati's like 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
They're 8 right now, but I mean, they're playing well. So I think that we're going to see a lot of different. I think we'll see a lot of different teams in there. I do think that the SEC is strong enough to still put 2 in there, but it wouldn't surprise me if we can't, because there is some teams out there. And if the Pac-12 is going to if the Pac-12 is going to display like this, and you got more teams than just Ohio State going to display in the way they're doing, yes, I can see 4 different conferences being in there, and which is what the whole plan was to be in the beginning. So yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yes, I think there's a lot of parity. There's a lot of parity that's going on, and this is one of those seasons where I don't think there's going to be one of those teams that is just going to run away and hide. Like you look at Alabama, so like last year, you knew Alabama was the best team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's happening like that this year. There's a lot of teams I think that are capable of winning the national championship this year. Because, like you said, there's going to be these teams that's going to catch a loss or two and they'll come in there into the playoffs with a loss or two. Because it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to see anybody going undefeated. But based off of what we've seen these first few weeks, yeah, I don't know if anybody's going undefeated this year. It could happen.
I mean, and this is not me being biased. The only team I really would put stock in going undefeated, um, and probably the only two teams actually I see would be Alabama and Georgia, because they have played some really solid competition. Georgia coming out of the gate playing Clemson the way they did, though Clemson hasn't really looked good in the moving forward the past 2 weeks, but that's about the only two teams that I really can say I can see them going undefeated. But even in conference, I can see where Alabama can take a loss. I mean, like we said before, Texas A&M, which I'm really not saying that they will, but Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Auburn, you still got those games. And then Georgia on the other side still has Florida. They still have Auburn, and throw another one in there. Let's just say Kentucky. I mean, those are going to be tough for those teams. And I can see Georgia taking a nail on one of those. I can see Alabama taking a nail. So, I mean, I hope that Georgia doesn't, but it's going to be tough sledding this year for every team out there.
All right, Patrick. Well, let's move on to the NFL. And what caught your eye from last week's action?
The NFL. Well, that Washington Giants game, if that was not the worst pathetic display of football in my life.
You think it was that bad?
I did not. To me, it was sloppy. It was sloppy. It was sloppy football to me, and I say sloppy, but it was mostly the Giants that was sloppy, man. I mean, the pocket was never clean. I can't even think of what's the quarterback's name for the Giants right now. I cannot think of it.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. He got hurried like 20 times. I think he got sacked 4 times. No, dude. It to me, it just didn't look clean. And I think the Giants were playing a little. They were trying to play scrappy, which caused Washington to play a little, not dirty, like cheating, but just not the way football should be played. I just thought it was a sloppy game. I just thought it was a sloppy game.
The Giants. So what I'll say about Daniel Jones, I felt like Daniel Jones played really well. Receivers did not help him. You had Kenny Galladay, who you paid all this money to get. He's dropping
4 drops. 4 drops.
And then you have Darius Slayton. He dropped a touchdown pass. And then no, he caught one. I know he caught one. But there's another one. And the ball, it was slightly overthrown, but any receiver who has that chance, they'll tell you they should have caught that. That should have been caught. As sloppy as you say it was, if I'm both teams, I'm actually pretty pleased. Now, obviously, Washington is pleased because they won, but you got Taylor Heineke in there now. I think that is his job. I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is getting that job back when he comes back, unless he's not playing well. But if Taylor Heineke continues to do what he's doing, then that will be his job. And honestly, I think the WTF's ceiling is higher with Heineke in there than it is with Fitzpatrick. As for the Giants,
I agree with
that. I think, like I said, Daniel Jones was playing well. I think for both teams, the defenses, which were the strengths of the teams last year, they haven't been playing all that great. I think that will start to improve as the season goes along, and I think both of these teams they'll be there at the end. So it might have been messy, might have been a little bit messy, but I think both teams can build from this.
I agree. And when I mean by Daniel Jones, I don't think Daniel Jones was like the worst part of the offense. It just all the drop balls. drop balls that the Giants had throughout the entire game. I mean, you could probably go through the whole thing and you could probably count 10 to 12 drop balls. I mean, literally, it was that bad. But you know, they were my playoff pick for that and I probably should have went with yours because
Patrick, it's 2 games, dude.
but man, it's just like you look at it, it's like hopefully they do get better. Hopefully they do, because honestly, there's nowhere else to go but up.
You know who you're sounding like right now, Patrick. You know who you're sounding like right now. You're sounding like all these overreactionists who see the game and they're just like, oh no, man, no, this ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, but you gotta know you gotta know when to cut your losses, and I don't want to lose too much.
We too, dude. It's we too.
No, I'm gonna ride with them. I mean, I always ride with my pick. I don't mind that. It's just, man, there has got to be something done about wide receivers and running backs catching the flipping ball, though. That's all I'm saying. Catch the ball. You get paid millions of dollars to do this. Do it.
That can be fixed, though. I mean, I don't think that's one of those things that's unfixable. Like, look, hey, man, do what you do. Get in there. Let's go back to basics. Follow the ball to your hands and catch it. So, I do think the Giants, and both the Giants and the WTFs, I know it is the WFTs, but they don't have a name. So, again, they're the WTFs. And so I think both of those teams will be all right. Another game. Well, I mean, there's a few. I'll start with.
Let me finish mine. I didn't get to pick all mine.
Well, Patrick, you spent 8 minutes on the Giants, so that's what I was saying. Like, what? Go ahead.
Carolina. I like the Carolina, and there was another game. I'm having to look it up real quick. Hold on. The Kansas City Baltimore game. That one.
All right. Well, you know what? So about those, Carolina. Them and the the Las Vegas Raiders. Those 2 teams are looking, to me, they're the most impressive teams right now.
Never thought that from the Raiders either. But
yes. But hey, the Carolina one, I'm definitely with you on that. That defense for Carolina looks really nasty. They got after Jameis Winston there in the game against the New Orleans Saints and won solidly 26-7. But hey, Patrick, I said Carolina could be a playoff team. So that's all my NFL preview. My picks anyway, my picks.
Mine too.
So yeah, Carolina, I like what they are building there, and Sam Darnold looks like a different quarterback right now. And I've always liked Sam Darnold, as you know. I think he just needed to get into a situation where he could build. And yeah, and I think he's found it there in Carolina. Kansas City, Baltimore. Hey, Baltimore, I like their toughness, man. Kansas City hit them with haymakers, and they just kept on coming back. And then they were finally able to take the lead. It looked like Kansas City was going to drive down the field for a field goal, and then they got a fumble. Kansas City, you know how I feel about Kansas City. Just like what you were saying about college, where it comes to these teams not being afraid, coming in here and playing. This is why I was saying I don't feel like it's a situation in the AFC West where Kansas City is just a bully and they're just going to be taking everybody's lunch money. These other teams, the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Broncos, they're not going to be scared of Kansas City. Now, do they have the talent to compete with them? That's another question. I mean, because we don't know just how they're going to match up with them. But they won't be losing because they're just scared of them. And the Raiders, I know they're going to believe they can beat them. They felt like they should have beat Kansas City twice last year. And then the Chargers, I mean, they're the Chargers. Because the Chargers are just one of those teams, Patrick. They have talent, but somewhere down the line, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. That is just the pattern. Look at when they played Dallas. They played Dallas on Sunday. They got a touchdown. Oh, illegal shift.
Yep.
Can't do it, and stuff like that. Both of those teams, both Dallas and I almost called them San Diego. Both Dallas and the Chargers had close to double-digit penalties. Man, it was that you talk about a sloppy game. That's sloppy. Like it's one thing, like with the Giants and the WTFs, if you're sloppy because you're not executing plays or you're dropping passes. It's another thing if you're sloppy because you're just being undisciplined. And those two teams, look, for the I'll go ahead and say this since I'm here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. For all you Dallas Cowboys fans who are going to do what y'all always do after every victory and say they're going to go to the Super Bowl and they're going to win the Super Bowl. Number one, y'all are delusional. No, number number two, you could not come to a reasonable conclusion for that game except to say you saw every single reason why they are going to be a 9-8, 8-9 football team. They're really good at times, and then other times you're like, what the F are y'all doing?
Yep. They were scrappy this week.
Yeah.
But are we going to get that same scrappiness next week?
Right.
You say 9-8, 8-9, bro. I'm more looking like 7-10, 6-11. I call it what it is. I call an apple and an orange, and I say 7-10.
Because they hover around average. That's
Mhm.
been the Cowboys mantra. So look, I'm sorry. Look, I'm one of positivity, Patrick.
Too bad they can't win 8.5, 8.5, so they can stay average with their 500 season. No, they'll go
Hey,
8-1.
what? Yeah, exactly. You did get a tie somewhere. So, so yeah, man. I'm just like you said, apple and apple, orange and orange. That's what I'm seeing when I look at Dallas and the Chargers, for that matter. They're just two teams where you can see, oh, they're great, and then other times where you're saying, oh, this is why they are just always getting in their own way because of stupid penalties. So yeah, dude. But real quick, back to the Chiefs and the Ravens, man. I think Baltimore might have figured something out.
I think so too.
And and if they do, then they're capable of going on a Super Bowl run. And that is in regards to Lamar Jackson. I think what's been happening when Baltimore has been getting into these games against Kansas City, you saw it last year against Buffalo and a little bit against Tennessee in some of those games that they played. They're trying to make Lamar Jackson this drop back passer, and they're taking away from the abilities he have. You got to let Lamar Jackson play. Continue to call things the way you would call them in other occasions. Let him run the football, and then let him kind of throw off of that. If you're able to do that, this dude is capable of carrying the Ravens to some good heights. You have weapons there now, besides just the tight end, Mark Andrews. You're going to get people back. You got Sammy Watkins in there. He's playing well. Um, you're going to get the draft pick that they had, Rashard Bateman. You're going to get him back after he gets off an injured reserve. So now you have some people there. The defense, too, they're going to continue to improve as well. So, but the main thing is that, though, Patrick, let Lamar Jackson do what he does best. Do not try to make this guy a pocket passer. Does he have to develop from the pocket? Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. I'm not trying to sit here and say he doesn't need to do it, but do not do that compromising the man's natural abilities that he can have running the football and being that combo quarterback.
Agreed.
Um, what are you looking forward to this week? There's
Oh,
a lot of good.
I hadn't even looked at the matchups yet.
Patrick. Oh goodness. Well,
Oh, I'm
okay.
slacking, bro. It's already been a week. Here, what kind of?
I was gonna say while you're looking, man, I have a couple.
Oh, Atlanta might get their first win.
I don't think they're beating the Giants. I don't.
I don't either. I think Giants. I think Atlanta goes into New York and gets their butts handed to them.
Oh man.
But I do I do want to see this Bengals Steelers game. I think that'd be good. Tampa Bay and the Rams. That's gonna be good. I want to see that.
Good ones, dude.
There's some good games out there.
The Saints and Patriots will be interesting.
Saints and Patriots will be interesting. Green Bay and San Francisco. That's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Philly might get their second win over Dallas.
Yeah, that's an interesting game, and I think a lot of people have been sleeping on Philly, but man, Patrick, Philly gave us all they could handle.
Yeah, Carolina's going to be undefeated coming in out of week 3. They got the Texans.
Yeah, they should be.
Yeah, that's a lot of good teams. There's a lot of good games out there. I would definitely say I'm looking forward to Green Bay and San Francisco is going to be one of them, and then the Tampa Bay and Rams.
Yeah, I'm with you on those two. You're just gonna see what the Rams are. You get to go put yourself up against the Super Bowl champs, the defending Super Bowl champs. You got them coming to Los Angeles. So that's gonna be, that one has the potential to be a great game. The Rams, I remember they beat Tampa Bay last year in the regular season, and I know that doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things, but the Rams are gonna say, "Hey, we're here. You got Matthew Stafford now too. We're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming."
So he's killing, bro. 700 yards in 2 games. 700 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Good for him.
Really good. And we've always said, man, if Matthew Stafford can get in a good situation where he can kind of show those talents, then he can be that elite, not just good, that elite quarterback, because he has elite talent. And I know both of us have always been high on Matthew Stafford and what he can do. But being up there in Detroit all them years, it's tough.
You ain't got an offensive line, and now he's got one. Look what he's doing. He's making the best out of the situation, and good for him. I'm really excited to see what he can do, and I will be rooting for the Rams because I'd like to see Matthew Stafford get a ring, man. I would.
Ooh, rooting for the Rams. Ooh. Now I'm gonna say that just simply because
it's your division.
Yeah, exactly. But real quick, Patrick, going back real quick. Tennessee, the way they came back in Seattle last week. That was, they were down 24-9, and Derrick Henry took over that game. I mean, he took over.
God, I wanted to see, I hadn't even looked at it, but I wanted to see what his stats were at the end of that game. Because, I mean, I know he rushed for over 100 yards in the second half.
So, I think 35 carries, 182 yards, and 3 touchdowns, I think, is what I want to say. That's off the top of my head. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was.
Actually, that's right on. 35 carries, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns. 60 was his longest, and I think that one came in the third quarter.
Yes. So, yeah.
I mean, he was – I know that second half, I know 100 yards, I know at least 125 of those came in half. He was unstoppable. Him was like a wrecking ball. And, you have 2 wrecking balls going against each other, man. One's going to give, and I can tell you, Derrick Henry was not giving in that second half, bro. He was a beast. But, yeah, I did watch a little bit of that. I ended up catching that 60-yard run.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast that guy is at that size.
Yeah. Oh, my God. As soon as he hit that hole, I was like, gone, house. He was gone, dude. He was gone. But no,
Man, I, so Patrick, we're gonna talk about the Packers real quick, and here's why. Because I want, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with this. We need to set some guidelines when it comes to talking about the Green Bay Packers for the rest of the year here on out, because we know what happened last week. Last week they got destroyed by the New Orleans Saints, 38-3. And
mhm.
everybody, the haters, the trolls, whatever you want to call them, were throwing dirt on Aaron Rodgers and saying, "Oh, he doesn't care. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. All he does is cry, and he just looked disinterested." You heard all the shows, the NFL on CBS, the NFL Today on CBS. They went in. All those guys went in on Aaron Rodgers, saying he doesn't play with no passion, no nothing. Again, week one, but whatever. That's what
Yeah,
you do these days. But here, Monday night, he has a great performance against the Detroit Lions, throws for 4 touchdowns, and Aaron Rodgers says, he basically, hey, I'm tired of all this horse-esque criticism that he gets, which to me, a lot of people have a problem with that. To me, that's refreshing because this is a guy who is admitting he hears the noise. He hears what people are saying to him, and he's going to respond to it. And he relishes in shutting up everybody. So here we go with the guidelines, Patrick. I think you'll like these. If you want to throw dirt on Aaron Rodgers, you do that on your own peril. I'm not throwing dirt on Aaron Rodgers. This is one of the greatest quarterbacks to play ever.
mhm.
And he's coming off of an MVP season. You want to bury him after 1 week? Y'all go right ahead. That is crazy to me, but y'all do what y'all do. Um, also, this is going to be a story all year because of that whole saga, which to me was a big deal about nothing. The dude was not leaving the Packers. He wasn't. I don't care what anybody was saying. I don't care what these other reports going on during the draft. You and I, we talked about this. He wasn't leaving the Packers. He was not going to retire. He wasn't doing none of that. But this
Nope.
is going to be a story that goes on. The minute he has another bad performance, here comes the trolls and here comes the haters out of their caves. The minute he has a good position, a good game, they're going to go right back into the cave. Both of us think, along with Courtney, who was on the show doing the NFL preview, we all think the Packers are still going to win the NFC North. Detroit's no good. Minnesota, we're not putting no faith in them. We'll see about Chicago, but we don't think they're going to be good enough to knock the Packers off. So they're going to make the playoffs. But here's another clear thing. It is Super Bowl or bust for the Packers this year. They've been to the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row, no less than a Super Bowl berth for them. Now, neither one of us think they're going to get there to the Super Bowl because we think they'll get knocked out somewhere else. But if you are a Packer fan and you're the Green Bay Packers in general, this is Super Bowl or bust. They have to get there this year. So all that stuff that Aaron Rodgers went through, all the drama, you need to pay that off with the Super Bowl this year. Those are the
Yep.
guidelines. So that's my way, Patrick, of limiting all the mess that is going to come from everybody else when it comes to talking about the Packers this year, because this is going to be a week by week story. Either Aaron Rodgers is going to do good,
Or
the
he needs
haters
to.
are going to go in their caves.
Yep. And I agree with you. I mean, look, he had a slow start last night, but the thing is that with all the things that he did, he's having to earn the respect back from the team, and he's doing that. And it's going to be a little bit of a trip for him, and he's going to have to do that, but he's doing that. And I think the Packers will be fine. I mean, look, if anybody thinks that somebody's going to knock off the Packers, did you watch? I don't think they watched the game last night. Everybody was really high on Jared Goff, and I'm like, well, just wait. Oh, there's that interception. Oh, there's that. He shouldn't have held the ball for more than 5 seconds, and he wants to try to throw it, and then he gets an intentional grounding. How about the holding of until he got sacked 3 times when he had ample enough time to get rid of the ball outside of the pocket and get it to the line of scrimmage. Didn't do it. So what's the point? If anybody thinks that Detroit is going to be better because they got Jared Goff, I don't think you watched the game last night. I just don't. I don't think you did because everybody was all high on Detroit. Ooh, look at what Detroit's done. Da, da, da. What you did was you gave the only chance for any kind of Super Bowl run, and you weren't going to get a Super Bowl run out of just Matthew Stafford. You gave that away. So now Detroit will tuck tail and run, and that's what they're going to do. Nobody's knocking off the Green Bay Packers. You got literally one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, and as long as and yes, he struggled with Tampa Bay, but like I said, he's got a lot of respect to get back, and he started earning it. And let him do his job. He's gonna be fine. Oh, and I do gotta say this before you. Did you see the meme with Aaron Rodgers and he's like this?
Yes.
Sidelines, and they go, "Bro, why are you so happy we're losing?" He goes, "No, y'all are losing."
So Bear, shout out to Bear. He sent me that meme, and I just said, "Oh, here we go." It is funny.
It was
but
funny. No,
it was funny.
I think it was. I mean, no, it's not. It's not the truth. But dog, that was so funny because he was like, "No, y'all are losing." Dude, it cracked me up, man. I thought it was funny.
No, it was really funny. That was a really funny meme, and but that's the stuff that you're going to see, man. And
all year.
Yeah, all year. And the minute he has a bad performance, people are just waiting. They're waiting to throw dirt on his grave. Waiting, biting, just salivating to do it. But y'all, again, y'all haters I'm talking to, y'all do that at your own risk. This guy will be back up around 40-45 touchdown passes.
40, I'll tell you, it'd probably be like 43, 44 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and he's probably thrown for 4,000 yards. Yeah. And they'll be in this. They'll be in the playoffs.
Well, all right, Patrick. Before we get out, man, we have a few minutes left to play with. I wanted to touch on this NBA situation, and this is another one that we had talked about a few times. But now, okay, what was reported by Wojbomb, Adrian Wojnarowski, there at ESPN, longtime insider for Yahoo Sports, and he came on to ESPN NBA Insider. So he says Ben Simmons is not going to report to camp, and he's played his last game for the 76ers. Look, Patrick, I really don't think we need to spend too much time on this, but I just wanted to point this out real quick. Ben Simmons, him not reporting to camp, not surprising. Okay. He wants to get traded, whatever. What Philly needs to do is drop their asking price. If they want to trade him, you're not going to get 3 or 4 first-round draft picks and players for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is not a good player right now, simply put. Now, is he a good defensive player? Yes, very good defensive player. But again, dude doesn't want the ball in his hands. In clutch situations, wants nothing to do with the ball in his hands. If he's supposed to be an elite level talent, we know you need the ball in your hands, or you got to at least want the ball in your hands in the clutch moments.
Yep.
So he needs to get better first and foremost. So we're not trying to take any responsibility away from Ben Simmons. But that 76er situation with Doc Rivers as the coach, that's not good either. And again, Doc Rivers is over here. If you're going to get at the media when people ask you questions about him, and then you do the exact thing that the media was asking you about, that's a problem there. So that goes far beyond basketball, Patrick. That is a trust issue. That is a credibility issue. That is just a simple issue of morality. Mm-hmm. You're saying this one thing and you're doing something completely different. That is a situation where if you're a player on the Philadelphia 76ers, you have to look at that and you have to ask yourself, how far can you trust this guy? Because if you're doing that to one of your best players or your better players, what does that mean to a guy like Tobias Harris or Seth Curry or any of the younger guys that are there? And then you re-up with Joel Embiid, who's supposed to be the cornerstone there. Here's something for you though, Patrick. I had heard a little quick report that there's some rumors saying that they may talk to the Brooklyn Nets and get Kyrie Irving down there. What do you think about that? Your look on your face says it all.
Wow.
So Patrick,
Oh God. Well, you know what? Honestly, it would be an upgrade.
that's not a bad That's not a bad idea in my
Not a
eyes.
bad idea now that I'm thinking about it. I mean, because it is an upgrade. I mean, you were talking about trading Ben Simmons. I'd trade him for an undrafted player.
So okay, dropping the asking price. I got you. Yes.
Way down because there's no way I would trade it. But that would actually, honestly, it would probably benefit both teams because now you got somebody that doesn't want the ball in their hands to give it up to three people that do want the ball in their hands. So
Yeah, you got Kevin Durant and James Harden.
yep, and they want the ball, so why not put Ben Simmons out there and say, hey, you're not going to be a shooting guard anymore. You're more going to be more of a passing guard. There you go. So we're gonna run you as the top. They call them point guards, but we're gonna call you the passing guard. That's what you're gonna do. All right. And you just pass it to one of those two and you just rack up on assists and let them score points. Move Kyrie Irving over to the 76ers and let it be. I mean,
and you know he's gonna want to shoot. So
and you know he's gonna want to shoot. Keep it up for Joel and down on the
block.
down on the post. So why not? Actually, no, that's great. That's like one of the trades that actually benefits both teams. 100%. Absolutely. Do it.
And you also know because remember when they were talking about trading Ben Simmons before last season, they were talking about maybe trading him to Houston for James Harden. That's a trade. Like both of us said, I was like, yeah, I'd do that. I would have did that if I was Philly. I straight up would have traded Ben Simmons for James Harden because you're getting a guy in James Harden who can space the floor for Joel Embiid. That's the main thing you're looking for. Someone who can space the floor and give Embiid some room to operate inside. Yes, he's going to float outside from time to time, but the dude has, I mean, he's more of your traditional big man than what we've seen in recent years, where you have the stretch guy that's going to shoot jumpers. If you're going to build around a guy like Embiid, you need to space that floor. Ben Simmons is not spacing the floor at all. And that was evident from the time they even came together. Because Ben Simmons has never been a good shooter, and I don't know if he ever will be a good shooter because he doesn't want to shoot.
He doesn't want to take his craft serious. You make all this money. I mean, I tell you, if you want to really you really want to be a person that takes your craft serious. Look at what Steph Curry did to get to the NBA. I mean, this man was doing like 3 a days until he got there. So yeah, good for him. Ben Simmons, he probably took his natural gift and took it as far as he could go, and this is where he's at. And one of my the thing that my coach always said is, hey, good players are made on the court, great players are made in the driveway. Steph Curry probably set his butt in the driveway and dribbled and dribbled and dribbled, and then he went to school with a basketball in his hand because he's dribbling with a backpack on. He's doing it all of that. Ben Simmons was like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, not doing it. Michael Vick in it. Yeah.
Just depending on the natural abilities.
Yeah. And Michael Vick was a great player, but yeah, well, you see how far it takes him.
So, yeah, man. But you know what? Even if they make that trade, though, let's say they do get Kyrie Irving. How's that going to work with Doc Rivers, man? Like, I mean, that just, I don't know. Doc to me, I used to think, I mean, because I was on that train of, hey, man, Doc Rivers is a good coach. Man, there's been some examples recently where I'm like, maybe that championship just kind of came with Boston because of all that talent they had. like like
Yeah,
that team got to be ready made for him to be successful. I don't think he's a guy who's going to build the team.
yeah. I don't think so either. And that was I don't know. That's kind of made kind of evident when he went to Brooklyn and or yeah he no where's he at fucking
Damn, Patrick, language man.
I just said the wrong word on yeah, my fault. I cannot even think where he's at right now.
He's in Philly right now, but he
Really?
was
God,
in
that's what I meant.
he was with
He's
the
not going
Clippers
to,
before.
yeah, he's not going to go there and build a team, and that was made evident when he went to the Clippers, and then now he's in Philly. He's a good coach. He's not a great coach.
Well, Patrick, on that note, it is time to get on out. So that will conclude this edition of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast. Y'all make sure y'all visit the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, and keep the lights coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. Let's see. We'll return with some stuff. I know I'll finally get this article out. I got to get back on the on the blog site. So I'll have an article hopefully by Thursday, and then we'll see what else we can produce. Other than that, everybody take care, and y'all have a great rest of the week.